Vietnam responsible tourism heads towards sustainable future. Up next, we'll talk about the current context and the future of responsible tourism concept in Vietnam in our crosstalk. Over the past 2 decades, Vietnam tourism has strongly grown, representing an impressive annual growth of some 12%. The tourism has been an important economic driver and employment generator. The sector's success, however, brought with itself risks of harming the environment and the relationship with the local people. The European Union, or the EU, besides other international donors, is supporting Vietnam with a tourism marketing strategy that considers the social and environmental impacts of tourism alongside growth, aiming at developing responsible tourism in Vietnam. To learn more about responsible tourism and how it ensures sustainability for tourism development in Vietnam, we have in our studio today Ms. Mary McKeon, a team leader of the EU-funded environmentally and socially responsible tourism capacity development program. But first, let's take a look at the following.
A survey conducted in Vietnam by the EU-funded environmentally and socially responsible tourism capacity development program last year found that tourists are willing to pay an extra $150 and stay 3 nights longer at destinations that apply responsible tourism. Why is responsible tourism so important? The 2002 Cape Town Declaration on Responsible Tourism in Destinations defines responsible tourism as tourism that minimises negative economic, environmental and social impacts and makes positive contributions to the conservation of nature and cultural heritage and embraces diversity. This approach is built upon the principles of sustainable tourism by using resources in a sustainable way to respect, preserve and promote cultural and natural authenticity. The responsible tourism concept also embraced fairness in the allocation of resources between different social groups, especially those most vulnerable. According to UNESCO, responsible tourism is currently the fastest growing segment in the tourism industry.
Ms. Mary McKeon, thank you so much for joining us today. So first of all, how does responsible tourism differ from other types of tourism, and could you give some examples?
Yes. Any tourism business, product or a destination can be made more responsible. Responsible tourism operators, or as we in the industry call them, practitioners in the responsible tourism sector, can work with the tourism communities to make tourism in a more responsible manner. That means maximizing benefits for the economy, the society and the environment in a way that minimizes the negative risks of what tourism development can deliver.
Yeah.
Responsible tourism recognizes that everybody has a responsibility for tourism development and the impact that this development can bring on society as a whole. The responsibility rests with the government, primarily the tourism businesses, tourists, and most importantly, the local people in the host communities that work day on day delivering services to the tourists. For example, a hotel committed to use or to implement the Green Lotus environmental program that has been developed, but with the support of the Viet Nam National Administration of Tourism, is more responsible than a hotel that is not implementing the Green Lotus program.
Yes.
Similarly, for a tour operator that has a responsible tourism code of practice, that organisation is acting in a more responsible manner than a tour operator that has not a responsible tourism code of practice. Also, destinations in Vietnam that have a responsible tourism destination management code of practice in place are acting more responsibly than destinations that are not managing the environment and the tourism product in a responsible manner.
Since 2011, the EU-funded Environmentally and Socially Responsible Tourism Capacity Development, or ESRT program, has been carried out in Vietnam. The multi-million-dollar project was also the first to kickstart responsible tourism in Vietnam, providing training courses and policy consultancy for tourism stakeholders in the country. The program has also helped establish working groups in the Central Coast, Mekong Delta, Northern Highland, Central Highland regions, and 10 other provinces. More importantly, the program has witnessed the active participation and collaboration of businesses and responsible tourism clubs.
Đấy là một cái mô hình du lịch có trách nhiệm và du lịch cộng đồng. Thì cái mô hình này chúng tôi lấy người dân bản địa làm gốc, tức là cái làm cái trung tâm. Thì với cái thứ hai là mục tiêu là tạo ra thêm nguồn thu nhập và sự bình đẳng cho khi mà có cái hoạt động du lịch có trách nhiệm ở dưới đấy. Thế thì những cái hoạt động của chúng tôi làm là chúng tôi tìm những cái nhà dân ở dưới đấy và đào tạo cho họ về các cái hoạt động du lịch có trách nhiệm, rồi tìm những cái hướng dẫn viên ở dưới đấy để tạo cho họ các trách nhiệm, và chúng tôi có đầu tư vào đấy những cái làm sao đảm bảo được cái việc là khách ăn ở thứ đấy tốt.
Làm xây dựng sản phẩm như thế thì quyền lợi của bà con gắn chính liền với quyền lợi của bên doanh nghiệp. Chính cái quyền lợi đấy, cả hai bên cùng có quyền lợi thì các sản phẩm dịch vụ sẽ được mở ra ngày một nhiều hơn, và chính vì thế nó sẽ là cân bằng giữa cái phát triển đầu tư cái du lịch bền vững và cái nguồn thu cho bà con, cái nguồn thu riêng của doanh nghiệp.
Since 2013, the ESRT project has supported Vietnam tourism in contributing towards a national strategy on brands, marketing, design and spreading the endless beauty logo, as well as assisting the Vietnam National Administration of Tourism to organize the conference on brand and marketing.
We can see that over the years you have organized so many training courses or workshops in many key tourism areas of Vietnam, such as Huế, Da Nang, Thanh Hóa, Nghệ An. So what are the targets of these courses or these workshops?
Training standards have been incorporated into the tourism training curriculum and program here in Vietnam, to ensure that the tourism standards are brought in line with the ASEAN standards, which Vietnam has signed up to in 2016. Our project, the EU ESRT project, has been supporting the Vietnam National Administration of Tourism to develop new standards, enhancing the tourism training standards to bring them in line with ASEAN. And the result of this work for us has been the completion of 10 standards specifically designed for the tourism sector that we refer to as VTOS.
Yes.
The VTOS are recognized in Vietnam as a training standard for the tourism sector. These standards cover the different aspects within the hotel sector. For example, front office, housekeeping, reception, etc. The different activities that are carried on within the hotel sector. So we have supported the development of these standards and brought them in line with ASEAN standards. This, we believe, will be very important and sustainable in the longer term after our project finishes, for the educational facilities, for the universities, for the colleges, for the training institutions in Vietnam, as well as for the business sector who will use these standards to train their staff in-house. The new ASEAN MRATP arrangement for Vietnam is a very exciting opportunity for the tourism sector. It will, in the longer term, involve the easy mobility of staff within the region, and it is very important that the standards in Vietnam in the tourism sector are now very much in line with the competitors in the region.
With the goal of facilitating regional trade and investment in the ASEAN bloc in 2015, ASEAN countries have signed 8 mutual recognition agreements. Among the 8 MRAs, the MRATP is the agreement signed for the tourism industry. The agreement was adopted during the 12th ASEAN Summit. Under the agreement, a person who meets the requirements set by common regulations can apply for work in any member state within ASEAN, thus allowing more freedom of labour movement within the bloc. To take advantage of the benefits of the MRATP and the integration of ASEAN tourism, all stakeholders in tourism, including managers, businesses and employees, must endeavour to enhance competitiveness and implement policies that attract and retain talent in the stronger competitive environment of ASEAN.
Yeah, we know that many other countries in the world are trying to make the best use of their strengths to develop tourism in a sustainable way. We can mention Korea, which have promoted its tourism brand through films or artworks, while Nepal or Bhutan have developed successful spiritual tourism. So how about Vietnam? How can we make use of our strengths?
In Vietnam, the tourism strategy is developed and is approved by the national government with its strategy up to 2020. And in that strategy, very interestingly, Vietnam identifies responsible tourism as one of the most important sectors to be considered for the long-term development of the sector. Our project has supported destinations like the North Central destination, like the 8 northwestern provinces, for example, the Central Coast provinces and the Mekong Delta. And we have developed and worked with the local provincial authorities and the business sector to develop a model of cooperation which is very new for Vietnam. It's very innovative, but it is very much in line with best practice in tourism development, and particularly in the area of responsible tourism development. This model that we have developed for public-private dialogue at destination level is called Destination Management Organizations. This model of cooperation is now in place, whereby there is very close collaboration between the public sector and the private sector. We have broken this model down into working groups. These working groups cover primarily 3 main key elements of the tourism sector in the destination. And these working groups are responsible for 3 different sectors: human resource development, product development, and marketing and promotion. And we have seen the results of this at ITB in Berlin this year, which is the largest tourist fair in the world. And the Central Coast destination went to ITB this year as one destination, promoting 3 provinces together. And this is how we see the future for the tourism development in Vietnam. The provinces working together very closely with the public and the private sector to develop the products and to market the products to the wider audiences.
As prediction of global tourism growth, Korean filmmakers have joined tourism bodies to maximize the impact its filming location have, with a high emphasis on cultural and nature preservation. Both destination marketers and filmmakers have recognized that movie-induced tourism creates a mutual balance, as it caters to the growing desire of travelers seeking out more unusual destinations and experiences while ensuring environmental protection.
I think what Vietnamese can learn is to take on your own strength. For example, K-pop or K-dramas are very famous. So mainly when we promote with Korean celebrities, and we also intermingle them with our own cultures. And Vietnam also has a very unique sense of culture. So I think maybe that's something the Vietnam tourism industry can take an example of Korean tourism policies and methods.
Nepal is an example of maximizing the benefits to the tourism industries by incorporating its locational and natural advantages with the responsible tourism development agenda. Possessing 8 of the 10 highest mountains in the world, Nepal is a hotspot destination for mountaineers and people seeking adventure. The Hindu and Buddhist heritage of Nepal and its cool weather are also strong attractions.
We are getting good numbers of tourists for Buddhism segment, it's a pilgrimage segment. We're trying to tap the potential in all the segments as well, be it adventure, leisure, culture of Nepal, because Nepal has a lot more to offer.
So, as we can draw from our discussions, tourism practices are very important to develop the tourism industry in the long run. However, currently there are 3 different standard systems in Vietnam. So, is it important for the tourism industry to be standardized?
Yes, it's very important that Vietnam is in line with international and best practice in regard to tourism education and training. And for this reason, through the ESRT project, we have developed the VITAS standards that are built on international best practice, but also are in line with ASEAN standards that are already in place in the ASEAN region. So now we hope that Vietnam will, in the very soon time, ensure that the VITAS standards become the national standards for the education and training of the tourism sector. We believe that these standards are built on a very solid foundation. They are built in collaboration with the tourism institutions, with the schools, with the universities, but also with the strong involvement of the business sector. The standards have been rolled out, they have been tested in the hotels and with the tour operators, and the standards have been very welcome. They have been very well received by the tourism sector. So it is our hope that these standards will become the national standards, and that Vietnam will have one set of training standards to enhance the skills of the tourism sector. This is very important for the long-term sustainability of the tourism industry. The development of the VITAS standards has been quite a long, intensive program, because the ESRT program that we are now implementing with the Vietnam National Administration of Tourism is a follow-on program to a previous HR, human resource development project, which was also funded by the European Union to support the enhancement of the capacity development in the tourism sector. So we have been working in Vietnam to enhance the capacity of the sector for over 10 years, and we believe now that the results which culminate in the VITAS standards are the best standards for Vietnam to take forward to strengthen the tourism sector.
These dustbins are placed on every corner of the beach in Da Nang, and people empty them on schedule. This is part of a project put into place 10 years ago to turn the coastal city into an environmental city. Da Nang is focusing on safety assurance and environmental sanitation, especially during the peak seasons.
Biển Đà Nẵng quá sạch và mình cảm thấy rất an tâm vì có rất nhiều nhân viên cứu hộ ở đây.
Millions of dollars have been poured into the city's infrastructure each year, and the presence of nearly 100 lifeguards with professional equipment on 18 beaches show the city's long-term orientation towards sustainable and responsible tourism.
Cứu hộ ở biển Đà Nẵng được trang bị các vật dụng, các trang thiết bị cũng như là nâng về chất lượng chuyên môn cũng như là quy mô số lượng người để mà đáp ứng được các nhu cầu.
Da Nang acts as an obvious example of boosting responsible tourism with a focus on marine tourism. However, it is obvious that the city has successfully drawn in the participation of many local stakeholders in the campaign, including local people and social organisations, thereby ensuring that people's awareness is raised and ensuring the city's success.
So what responsibilities should each stakeholder take to better promote responsible tourism? For example, the management, authority, the businesses and the community as well?
Yes, the responsibility for responsible tourism lies with all the actors involved in the tourism sector. We will start first with the government. It is very important that responsible tourism principles are at the core of all activities carried out by the central government and by the governments at destination level, particularly at provincial level, to ensure the protection of the tourism product, that the environment is protected, and that the benefits of the tourism is spread evenly to all the operators and the communities involved in the tourism sector. The responsibilities of the education providers is also very important, that the skills and the transfer of knowledge about responsible tourism is built into the curriculum, that it is built into the capacity development tools used in the universities, in the colleges and in the schools. The responsibility also is very important in the communities, that the negative impact of tourism in the local communities is counteracted by the implementation of responsible tourism principles, thinking and delivery into everything that it takes place at community level, to ensure that the community remains in a sustainable, strong, environmentally safe, attractive manner for the tourists to visit, to experience. And finally, it is very important for the tourists that the code of practice that has been developed in Viet Nam for the tourists is abided by, and that the tourists are aware at each point in the tourist journey of the importance of the local community, of the environment, of the natural assets that Viet Nam has to offer to the tourists, that these are protected for the long-term sustainability, for the future generations of this country. And we have to be very cognizant of the magnificent tourist attractions that Viet Nam has to offer the world. These attractions have to be maintained in a responsible manner to ensure the long-term sustainability of the industry, which we believe still is in its infancy and has the potential to grow and develop, to be an important driver for the economy of Vietnam.
Now, agents from the private sector have identified the most pressing needs as being tourism promotion, diversification of services and products, and ensuring a better quality of services. Also, the overall policy of the Vietnamese government for the development of the tourism industry until 2030 is to use its outstanding natural, cultural, and historical heritage to generate income and employment, preserving traditional culture and raise the standard of living of the population, especially the poor and disadvantaged groups of society. This requires strong collaboration among sectors, businesses, and other stakeholders as well. Responsible tourism development will create a firm basis for the future comprehensive development of Vietnam's tourism industry. And that wraps up this edition of BizLine. Thank you so much for joining us. Please feel free to log on to vtv4.vn or youtube.com/vtv4go for more of our programs. And goodbye for now.